I wasn't supposed to be in the crawl space. That's the first thing I need to make clear because it matters for what I found. My brother Ethan had been missing for 11 months, and the police had stopped returning my calls 3 months ago. They said there was no evidence of foul play, no signs of struggle, nothing to suggest he hadn't just walked away from his life like a man shedding a coat he was tired of wearing. I knew that was a lie. Ethan didn't walk away from anything. He double-checked the locks before bed. He called our mother every Sunday at exactly 6 p.m., and he had a calendar on his fridge where he'd crossed off the days until his vacation to the Great Smoky Mountains, a trip he never took. His car was still in the driveway when he vanished. The crawl space was under the guest bedroom, accessed through a trapdoor in the hallway closet that I'd stepped over 100 times without thinking. I only found it because I'd finally gathered the courage to clean out his house, to pack his things into boxes and face the reality that he wasn't coming back. I'd emptied the kitchen, the living room, the bedroom. Ethan's space smelled like lavender and old paper, the scent of a life that had been paused mid-breath. I pulled the last few boxes from the hall closet, and my elbow knocked against the floorboards with a hollow sound. I knelt down, pressed my palm flat, and felt the faint seam where the wood had been cut and replaced. The trapdoor lifted easily. No lock, no latch. Just a brass ring set into the wood, cool against my fingers. I'd never seen a crawl space like this one. Most are dirt-floored, dusty, full of cobwebs and forgotten Christmas decorations. This one had a concrete floor. The walls were finished drywall, painted a soft gray, and there was a single light bulb hanging from a wire in the center of the room, a room, not a crawl space, that descended about 8 feet down a wooden ladder bolted to the opening. I stood at the top with my phone's flashlight cutting a beam into the dark, and I could see the gray walls, the concrete floor, and a single wooden chair placed in the exact middle of the space, facing a wall with nothing on it. I should have called the police right then. I should have backed out, closed the trapdoor, and walked away. But Ethan was missing, and I had spent 11 months running on fumes and false hope, and my brain had decided that this secret room under his guest bedroom closet was going to be the thing that finally made sense of everything. I climbed down. The air was cold, but not damp. It had the sterile chill of a space that was regulated, maintained. The concrete floor was smooth, almost polished, and the chair, a simple wooden dining chair with a padded seat, was bolted to the floor. 4 metal brackets held it in place, and the brackets were new, the screws still bright and unrusted. I ran my hand over the seat and felt the slight indentation of someone who had sat there for a long time. The padding was worn down in the center, shaped to a body. There were marks on the walls, scratches maybe, or writing, something dark and thin like pencil lead or dried blood. I brought my phone closer and my breath caught in my throat. It was a timeline. Dates, hours, times, written in Ethan's handwriting. I knew his handwriting, the way he looped his letters, the sharp angle of his capital E. The dates started about 6 months before he vanished. Each entry was a single line, a time, a dash, and a sentence. 11:47 p.m., TV static. No voices tonight. 3:02 a.m., something breathing against the wall. Heavy, not human. 12:14 a.m., it said my name. I didn't answer. I turned in a slow circle, and the writing covered every wall from floor to ceiling. Hundreds of entries, thousands of lines, documenting months of nights spent in this concrete box. The most recent entry was dated 3 days before Ethan disappeared. 2:34 a.m., I saw the line. It's getting closer. Tomorrow I'll let it in. I read that line 6 times, and each time my stomach tightened like a fist. Let it in. What the hell did that mean? I pulled out my phone to take a picture, and that's when I noticed the corner of the room. The drywall was different there, newer, a slightly darker shade of gray with a fresh texture. I pressed my hand against it and felt the slight give of drywall that hadn't been properly sealed. I knocked, and the sound was wrong, hollow, but muffled, like there was something soft on the other side. I made a decision I will never stop regretting. I kicked the wall. My boot went through the drywall like it was paper. The noise was loud, a cracking, splintering sound that echoed through the crawl space and up through the trapdoor into the house above. I yanked my leg back, and the drywall crumbled in a cloud of fine gray dust, revealing a dark cavity behind it. The space beyond was small, maybe 3 feet wide, and I aimed my phone's light into it and saw a mattress on the floor. A thin, stained twin mattress with no sheets, and on the mattress, curled on her side, was a woman. She was alive. I could see her ribs moving, the shallow rise and fall of breathing. Her skin was gray with dust, her hair matted and tangled, and she wore a t-shirt that had once been white. Her eyes were open. They were pale blue, and they were looking directly at me, but she didn't blink. She didn't flinch. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm sorry, I'm going to get help, I'm going to call." Her mouth opened, and the sound that came out was not human. It was a dry, crackling rasp, like dead leaves scraping across pavement, and it formed words that I heard with my own ears but still don't believe. "He already let me in," she said. "3 days before he left." I scrambled backward, my phone clattering to the concrete floor, the light spinning wild shadows across the walls covered in Ethan's handwriting. The woman didn't move. She just lay there watching me with those unblinking blue eyes, and her mouth kept moving, that same rasping, cracking voice, saying the same words over and over. "I'm in your house now. I'm in your house now. I'm in your house now." I grabbed my phone and climbed the ladder so fast I tore my palm on a loose screw. I slammed the trapdoor shut, threw the boxes back on top of it, and stood in the hallway breathing so hard I thought I might pass out. I called the police. I told them everything, the crawl space, the walls covered in writing, the woman in the hidden room. They came, they searched, and they found nothing. The drywall was intact. The concrete floor was bare. The chair was gone, the bolt brackets gone, the handwriting gone, every trace of Ethan's secret room had been erased like it had never existed. The officer who took my statement was patient, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. He asked if I'd been sleeping. He asked if I'd considered grief counseling. I went home that night and I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with all the lights on, and I tried to convince myself that I had imagined it, that the stress and the grief and the sleepless months had finally cracked something inside me. I almost believed it. I almost let myself have that lie. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Ethan's number. I stared at the screen. The message was 3 words, "Turn off the light." I called the number. It rang 6 times, then clicked, and I heard breathing, heavy, slow, pressed against the microphone like someone was holding the phone an inch from their mouth. I didn't speak. The breathing continued for a full minute, and then a voice, the dry, crackling voice from the crawl space, whispered into my ear. "You're in the photograph now." I ended the call. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I opened my photos, scrolling back to the pictures I'd taken in Ethan's crawl space, the ones that had mysteriously disappeared from my gallery when I showed the police. But one remained. A single photo I didn't remember taking. It was a selfie, but I didn't take selfies. The angle was wrong, tilted, low, looking up at my face from below, like someone had been crouching at my feet and snapped the picture without me knowing. In the photo, I was standing in the crawl space, my mouth slightly open, my eyes wide, looking down at the camera with an expression of pure terror. And behind me, visible in the shadows against the gray wall, was the outline of a figure, slumped, seated, occupying a space where no chair existed, the shape of a body that had been there all along. I've been looking at that photo for 3 days now. I haven't left my house. I haven't answered my phone. But the texts keep coming from Ethan's number, from my own number, from numbers I don't recognize, and they all say the same thing. "You let it in. You let it in. You let it in." I don't know what I found in that crawl space. I don't know what Ethan was documenting for all those months, or what he chose to let into his life on the night he vanished. But I know one thing with absolute certainty. That photograph is still on my phone, and the figure behind me is closer now than it was yesterday. I can feel it sitting in the chair in my living room, just behind where I'm typing this, breathing slow and heavy against the back of my neck. And I don't know if I can stop myself from turning around. I don't know if I want to.